Broadcasting live from the Capitol OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks also to our friends at Gulfstream for their sponsorship of this program, some of the other programming and events here at Capitol OTB. Again, thanks to Gulfstream for their support. This morning, a little bit later on, we will be joined live by Bob Ehalt, his Best Racing and More, covers New York racing and beyond. He had an article covering the Gotham from last week. So we'll talk a little bit, get some of Bob's impressions from last week's three-year-old action. Also, he has an article up now looking at the Rebel down at Oaklawn, some thoughts there as well. That's a little bit later on. Also, touch base a couple of interviews yesterday. Coming up a little bit later, Ken McPeak, the trainer of Swiss Skydiver. Last year's three-year-old filly champion makes her four-year-old debut out in Southern California later this afternoon. Talked about that and more with Ken. But we'll kick things off. A big day down at Oaklawn, highlighted by the Rebel, but plenty of other stakes action as well. And so I reached out to Rick Hammerle, the racing director from Oaklawn Park, to talk some of today's big action. Happy to be joined now by Rick Hammerle. He's the racing coordinator down at Oaklawn. They have a very big day scheduled down at Oaklawn Park. Rick, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Now it's from Hot Springs, from Hot Springs to New York.
Absolutely. And I
actually, I said I was going to say for once, I think we had a worse winter than you did. It was a long one. I mean, we tell you, we canceled 8 days of racing and trained for 11 straight days, which is, odd. I mean, it was in Hawaii here during the winter time by any means, but it rains a little bit here and there. But we got caught in that vortex, that polar vortex, and boy, I mean, town shut down for a while. But as you mentioned, it's Rebel spins around and it's our turn. And I think we put on a pretty good 12-race card tomorrow.
Yeah, I put on I have a sister who lives up in Fayetteville, the northwest part of the state. And during that period, she got some snow. And usually maybe a little dusting here or there. But they got hit pretty good earlier. And you were a little further south, but still got the weather there for that period. And I was going to ask you just overall, and now you've mentioned that weather period that certainly was notable. But fill us in on how the 2021 meet's been going so far. You've certainly had some great racing. I talk about it all the time when I do the afternoon show. I love Oaklawn. I think there's a lot of value. I think you can get clever and play around in some of the pick races and have some fun. So I look forward to Oaklawn a lot. But fill us in what 2021 has been like so far. I believe fans are on track, but I also noted what the infield opened up a week or so ago, correct?
Right. Well, basically, it's like two meets. The first part of the meet, I think we've forgotten about, to tell you the truth. And we came back a few weeks ago, and the weather's been better. And correct, we've let in, I'd say, a couple thousand people a day where they have to call ahead and get reservations in the restaurant, and then owners and trainers and others that get credentials can stay on the bottom floor and go outside and stuff. So it's actually kind of neat to see some people milling around. And I'll tell you, last weekend we opened up the infield for the first time on the Saturday, and it was started to be live. They put a band out there, and the beer's cold and started. So we're going to have the infield open again tomorrow. And it's going to rain earlier in the week, but it's going to be a dry day, so that'll be filled. It just gives the place some atmosphere. I mean, when you're talking about might have 3,000-4,000 people here tomorrow. On a normal Rebel weekend, there'd be 30 to 40, 50,000 people here. It's pretty wild. But no, the racing's come back. 2 weeks ago we had the 2-year-old champion run in the delayed Southwest and go ahead and win. Then we had Monomoy Girl run, the champion filly and mare, and we have another champion running tomorrow in Whitmore, who's more than a Breeders' Cup champion and Eclipse Award winner. I mean, he's the fan favorite here. He's the favorite here. He's also the cover boy on the new Trainer magazine. So if you read that or anybody does, you want to go to trainermagazine.com. They do a great job. But so Whitmore's back, and then to tell you the truth, not only Whitmore, but CZ Rocket follows him back. So the 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup are going to be running in the Hot Springs earlier in the card.
Yeah, we'll hit on that in just a minute. I just wanted to touch on one other thing and kind of give down at Oaklawn everybody a pat on the back, because I've already handicapped a couple of days ago for the Saturday card down at Oaklawn. And as I went through, there was one. It was an allowance race, and Pletcher had a horse. I thought, Pletcher coming over from Florida for an allowance race. Then I looked up at the conditions again. $105,000 purse in the allowance race. There's a race on the card with a $106,000 purse, and there's a maiden special weight event with a $93,000 purse. So good job down there at Oaklawn.
The casino's kind of been in business the whole time at a reduced rate as well, but they like the racing here. The sellers, who of course own this for over 120 years, love the horsemen and do what they can to get the purses up. And yeah, we just announced a purse change that was effective yesterday. So there's not an allowance race less under 100,000. Of course, you mentioned the maidens, and then the bottom are also raised. Yeah, it's funny that you call Todd up and say, "Hey, you got one for the Rebel?" No, but put one in the for. Yeah, exactly. 105, no problem. So really concentrating on trying to get the quality up here the last few years. We have a great crew of local horsemen here. They come here to run. I tell you, I mentioned earlier, we didn't train for 11 days, and we couldn't because the track was frozen. Yeah. Not one complaint by an owner, by a trainer, nothing. We opened up the track the next day, and we ran 2 days later, and I don't know where else you could do that. So, the horsemen love it here. They run, and it took me a while to get used to it. I mean, this is my second year here. It's a lot slower than the big city, but people are friendly, and like I said, they love to run, and horse racing is definitely king here in Hot Springs.
Yeah, as they say, I have a sister in Fayetteville, so I was lucky enough to get down there a few years back and spent a couple of days down there, and it's nice. For folks up in our area, it's very Saratoga-ish, the town, completely into the race game, and it's just a lot of fun, and a lot of familiar names down there. When I pulled up the trainers list, Asmussen is on top, Diodoro, Brad Cox, familiar jockeys as well. But Rick, let's get into the racing. Let's start with the big race on Saturday afternoon, the Rebel. While we talk, I'm going to pull up the San Vicente from February 6th at Santa Anita. Concert Tour will be the winner here. Number 6, beating Freedom Fighter. Concert Tour is interesting. Caddo River off the Smarty Jones win for Brad Cox clearly is going to be the one to beat. He was just phenomenal that day in the Smarty Jones. But I will add, as we watch the stretch run from Concert Tour, I did cast yesterday. I did a trivia question, and I said, of the last 12 runnings of the Smarty Jones, how many has Bob Baffert won? He's won 7 of the last 12 Rebels. So I tilted a little towards Concert Tour, but Caddo River, very interesting. What are your thoughts on the Rebel?
Well, I, being a California boy, been around here and there, but every time you try and look the other way, you get burned. I mean, all these races, they start and end with Baffert. You really have to find a way to try and beat him. Like you mentioned, since 2010, he's won 7 of these. Last year was Nadal, and interestingly enough, it was literally almost a year ago to the day. And I remember watching that race in the eerie confines of the empty Oaklawn Park. It was right when we started with that week with no fans, and I just kind of was outside, and it was you just hear the pitter patter of the horses going by, and it was just eerie. And now this year we come a year later, and you have a horse that basically followed Nadal's footsteps. Couple starts, I think Nadal did the same thing and won the San Vicente. Concert Tour is doing the same thing that Nadal did, and so coming in, so on paper sometimes you only won 2 races, hasn't gone long. You still got to think. Bob's been quoted as he always likes to send his best horse here for the Rebel, and it's proven over the years. So start and stop with him. I mean, not necessarily stop, but look at Concert Tour more than you would if it was another name on that train list. Caddo River, what I like about him is he is on schedule. When they gave him a break in November, the horse is owned by Short Leave. It's Mr. Anthony, John Anthony, formerly of Loblolly, who's in and supports Arkansas racing and always has, and has won a couple Arkansas. This was their plan, to run in the Smarty Jones, skip the Southwest regardless of when it was run, and come back here in the Rebel. So I like horses that are on plan. So he's obviously ran through the TV at the Smarty Jones. A little tougher here, but he's going to run good. But you know what? This race has some horses in here that look like they might improve. And let's not forget Keep Me in Mind, who was the third in the Breeders' Cup as well. Now he was planned on running 4 weeks ago in the Southwest, which got caught up in the old cancellation game, and I think it was going to be on the 17th, and then it was going to be the next weekend, and then we canceled again. So it was 2 weeks ago. So it kind of threw a little bit of the schedule off. So he opted to wait for here. So he looks like he's a deep closer. I think they're trying to get a little more speed into him so he doesn't hang as far back. But once again, don't worry about that on this track. There are no biases. The races are run pretty true. So you got him in there. And there's a couple horses here from the Asmussen barn, who knows his way around this track, by the way. Big Lake. If I had to pick an upsetter, I would pick him, and I don't know if he's going to get the job done, but I think he'll run a very improved race coming off an allowance at the fairgrounds. So he's headed in the right direction. And also Superstock, who I think was made out to be a good one. I mean, his last three starts are in the Iroquois, the Breeders' Futurity, and the Street Sense, all in the money performances. He hasn't run since October, and he's an interesting sort. Maybe pointing for something a little bit further down the road. And then you got Get Her Number, the only Grade 1 winner in the field, coming off the American Pharoah win at Santa Anita. Now he has been off a while, and he'll probably need one, but I see him moving in the right direction as well. So, just a super contentious race. I'm going to pick Concert Tour because every time I try to go the other way, I get burned. But Bob's here, and his Jimmy Barnes, his number one assistant, is on track, and Joel stays on board. And I just think he's going to be controlling out there. And like I said, I like Big Lake a little bit on the other side, and maybe they'll keep me in mind to come up. But keep in mind, these horses are all pointing for the Arkansas Derby, which is next. And I'll tell you what, I started looking at this on a little bit outside the box here. In 2 months here, if you were going to play a nice 3-year-old to Arkansas, you could run in the Southwest, the Rebel, and the Arkansas Derby for $2.75 million. If you wanted to just say, you know what, that's my Kentucky Derby. I'm going to run in those 3 races, February, March, and April, and give your horse a break. I tell you what, it wouldn't be too bad. I mean, that's a lot of money to run for, and then that's why it's proved over the years we get the good horses.
Yeah, the Rebel itself worth $1 million Saturday afternoon, and as you've said, going through it, a really nice field. Let's just hit on a couple undercard stakes. We mentioned a little bit earlier the Hot Springs. I'm going to pull up the King Cotton from earlier. I've always liked Boldor here. 7 Army